thanks for coming by for another Monster Monday, the best way to start your week. This time around, I've got a real knee slapper, a real rib tickler, a monster sure to send your sides into orbit if it doesn't consign them to its belly first. Please, welcome to the stage, the last laugh. This is another original monster I've made, and an idea that has some roots within my own setting. In my homebrew, the goddess of undeath was an exile who died out in the savannah, leaving her corpse to be scavenged by hyenas and vultures. Rejecting her own demise, she managed to claw herself back into the land of the living to become the first undead. The beasts and animals that had feasted of her flesh were transformed into her minions, the harpies and Kolo. As such, Kolo have a propensity for undead, and a brutally pragmatic society. Dead family become food, dead slaves become zombie thralls, and even dead pets become hideous abominations that still get babied by their masters. Aside from setting it apart design-wise and making it a bit more distinct, the reason that Last Laughs feature two heads is a crude emulation of the Five-Crowned Prince, the herald of their undead goddess. Despite all this, the Last Laugh can easily be adapted to other settings, so don't let all my yapping put you off. Speaking a little bit more mechanically though, I wanted the Last Laugh to be a different level than other hyenas, which are level 1 and 3, and its undead nature led to me giving it a bit of a boost and landing on level 4 for this fearsome fiend. In addition to that undead nature, I use the unholy trait, given how common it is among the undead, and because that's certainly a solid way to describe the Last Laugh's state of being. I wasn't following any particular roadmap for the Last Laugh, and ended up looking at the hyena's stat distribution when figuring some things out. Its undead nature bequeaths it a high strength, with which to maul and mangle the many that it meets. The typical hyena also has a dexterity to match that strength, but I ended up going for a more moderate dexterity for the Last Laugh, with its decayed muscles meaning it isn't quite as nimble as it once was. It follows that with moderate wisdom, before closing out on its ability scores with a low constitution and charisma. The latter based on some of the more mystical powers that it exhibits, as we'll see elsewhere in this build. Before any of that though, it uses a moderate perception score, but the hyena's low light vision has been upgraded to dark vision, due to its undeath, and it also retains the scent ability. Taking from the top for its skills, the Last Laugh has a high athletics to better drag and bully creatures around, as that does make up a portion of its kit. It then features a moderate acrobatics and intimidation, though I did consider going higher for the latter, given the innate penalty for not sharing a language, but I felt a little odd going for a higher value given its low charisma. A low stealth skill finishes off this assortment and is mainly included for Legacy. It's a skill found on the baseline hyena, and I don't think Undeath should have caused it to lose it. Delving into the defenses of this dreadful dual-headed dead, I started going a little off script and kinda just followed my heart here, which led me to a high armor class. The Last Laugh has taken a beating at least once already, and is ready to do so again with this and its high hit points. Naturally, as an undead it has void healing, as well as a wide array of undead immunities. As a quick aside, the inclusion of an immunity to unconsciousness could make the Last Laughs serve as fantastic guards for the Kolo camps, if you want to run those in your game. Finishing out its defenses though, it uses that almost high dexterity for a high reflex save. But with it already having a high armor class and high hit points, I used a low value for its fortitude and will saves alike. Maybe I should have gone slightly higher on its wisdom so that others can't sway it away from its master, but I think it fits the design that I landed on. The offensive capabilities of our adorable abomination are rather simple as it only features a single strike, much like the OG hyena. Its draw strike is modified slightly by the fact that it has two heads, and I was debating on how exactly I wanted to represent that. I considered including the twin trait, but knew that I had damage aplenty elsewhere and that it would be a bit difficult to imagine. Instead, I used the agile trait for the two heads working in tandem, along the lines of how most claw or fist strikes have the agile trait as well, since you do have two of them. That all said, it uses a moderate attack bonus with high damage that is further coupled with the knockdown ability, which might mean that we have a bite worse than our bark. But to properly ascertain that, we have to take a look at its other abilities. In designing the Last Laugh, I wanted to include a few features from the mortal hyenas, so we will start by discussing those. The first of these is Pack Attack, an ability that increases the last laugh's damage if there are multiple allies also threatening that creature. Sort of a slightly more specific sneak attack. The 1d6 damage die puts the last laugh at approximately extreme damage, which encourages the party to put some distance between this undead and its allies. Though complicating that is another baseline ability of the hyena called Drag. This features a strike and allows the last laugh to begin hauling its prey back to its pack, potentially putting them into position to put that pack attack to work. While the movement is highly limited at only 10 feet, this is a fun little ability that might even work too nicely, given the agile trait of our gruesome jaws. For an ability not found on the baseline hyena, I also included the Hyenodon's Bone-Crushing Bite. Aside from sharing a name with the best Bay vs. Decepticon, this is likely based on the fact that hyenas have one of the strongest bites in the animal kingdom proportioned to their size. Sharks and gators still outdo them, but they aren't even remotely within the same weight class. Now, getting back into the game of Pathfinder, this requires a high DC Fortitude save, or leaves a creature wounded 1 before they even go down, enhancing the terror that this threat represents. This just keeps adding more evidence that the last laugh's bite is the thing to fear, and I don't really do anything to dissuade that with the next ability being Crunch. This is a unique ability that is inspired by the bone-breaking power of the hyena's jaws, mixed with the last laugh's 2 heads, each taking the same limb and then tearing it in opposite directions for a brutal break. This is represented through 2 strikes that are affected by multiple attack penalty normally. If both of these attacks hit, the last laugh can either break an arm or a leg, and have an effect dependent on the option it chose. Breaking the arm means that the target will be taking a penalty to their attacks and other checks that require that arm, while breaking the leg lowers their speed, making them easier prey to chase down and tear apart. Given that this is a brutal breaking of brittle bones, it requires a full and proper treat wounds to remove this penalty, which might honestly be too simple, but I didn't want to get overly cruel for a level 4 creature. However, crunching and munching is not all that the last laugh has in its arsenal. For example, it has a cackle ability, an aura that extends 15 feet around it. I consider designing something along these lines as a reaction, letting the 2 heads of the last laugh heckle players when they critically fail checks, largely as a reference to the Statler and Waldorf of Muppet fame.
Well, they say all good things come to an end.
What's that got to do with this show?
After some debate internally and on the Monster Monday Discord, I settled for this aura that is pretty much just Dirge of Doom placed on a monster. This makes enemies frightened 1 and keeps them this way for as long as they remain within this admittedly short range, which is one of the main weaknesses of this particular feature. Though perhaps more than that, the real bad bark of the last laugh comes from its reaction, the spirit of the Smiling Scavenger. True to its name, this triggers when the last laugh is slain and allows it to do one of 2 things. It can empower one of its remaining packmates with the effects of a death knell spell, or afflict a foe with Laughing Fit for one last chance to get them in on the joke. Now, Laughing Fit is normally a sustained duration spell, which the last laugh obviously can't do while being dead, so I simply assigned it a duration of 1 minute, which might be a bit brutal, but fits my fearsome theme too fantastically to not feature. However, that is the last laugh. This putrid polycephalic predator perpetrates precarious pranks that are positively perilous prior to pulling frustrated prey to its pack to be pillage and plunder of all personage. Obviously, the last laugh is meant to be run alongside other creatures, considering abilities such as its pack attack and Spirit of the Smiling Scavenger. And it's at a level where you could certainly feature it alongside several Colo or maybe even other hyenas. I do have a Colo coming up I constructed that could be a great addition to its pack, but you could also consider a solo last laugh, with slightly modified abilities that allow it to better serve as a lone wolf of sorts. Let me know what you think of this creature and what other sorts of monsters you'd like to see in a comment. If you like what you see here and want more, be sure to leave a like and then subscribe to the channel. You can also check out the blog, which is linked below along with the Twitter and Discord. Thanks for watching and have a monstrous Monday.
Friends? I thought he said we were the enemy.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Ed?